But your general question, I think, is true, that there is this through line. Some of the same people pop up in Zelig-like fashion at these key moments. And Richard Nixon himself, I think, was very suspicious about what the CIA's involvement was in the Kennedy assassination. And I think he tried to use that, as Hank Haldeman wrote in his memoir, to blackmail Richard Helms and the CIA into getting his ass out of trouble during Watergate. And, that's the thing. Once you start to get inside this elite world of the media and Washington politics, you do see, this goes to a question we heard earlier, you do see that among themselves they're all saying, yes, of course there was a conspiracy, we knew that happened, but for the good of the country we had to move on. And I've interviewed people like this. I interviewed Ben Bradley, the legendary editor of the Washington Post and Kennedy's best friend in the Washington Press Corps. I interviewed him for my book Brothers, and I said, why didn't you do anything with all your investigative resources to look into this crime? And he essentially had the honesty to tell me, it would have fucked up my career. It's basically what it came down to. Because people knew I was so obsessed with Kennedy, he was my good friend, and they would have thought this was, somehow my heart leading instead of my brain. It was a strange answer that he gave me. Don Hewitt, the creator of 60 Minutes, same thing. I confronted him. Why didn't 60 Minutes? Those were the two institutions, along with the New York Times, that if any institution could have cracked us in the media world, they would have. Again, Don Hewitt admitted to me, we all knew it was a conspiracy. He said, we knew it was the CIA, the mob guys, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, why didn't you crack the case then, Don? He said, well, we could never pin it down. So there's always an excuse, of course. And what it comes down to is these men are so high paid, there's such a firm fixture within the establishment that they can't imagine life outside of those cozy confines. It really comes down to that. And I actually hold the New Frontiersmen accountable as well. People like Arthur Schlesinger Jr., because I hold these people accountable. They were smart enough to also have figured out largely what happened. I believe Schlesinger knew from my own conversations with him and things he told other people that it was a conspiracy. But again, he didn't have the courage to break from this world. It would have been like he would have been an exile from this world of Washington and Boston and New York that they'd come to feel so comfortable in. He wouldn't be invited to parties. He'd be cut off from these institutions and these fellowships. He wouldn't get the book contracts. He wouldn't appear on television. And to some of those people, that's as if they're dead. For me, I long ago decided that I didn't care about that. People like I.F. Stone don't care about that.